It was a Monday morning, and we were sitting at the kitchen table. We had finished eating breakfast, and I was drinking my coffee and reading the morning paper. My wife, B, said, "Would you put the paper down, Rob? I have to talk to you." I put the paper down on the table and then asked, "What is it, B?" "I'm leaving you, Rob. I want a divorce." "Is that all?" I questioned. I picked the paper back up and started reading the sports section. "I'm serious, Rob." I ignored her and she got agitated. "Damn it, Rob, put that paper down and talk to me." "Why?" "I've got nothing to say except goodbye. It isn't any great loss. You haven't been worth a thing as a wife for over a year anyway. So go." I put the paper down and said, "Give me just a second." And I got up and went into the room that I used for a home office. I picked up a pad of paper and a pen from the top of my desk and got an envelope out of one of the drawers. I went back to the kitchen table, sat down, and on the top sheet of the pad I wrote, "Tom, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank God she is gone." I started to put it in the envelope and then had a thought. I took one of the lottery tickets I'd purchased the previous evening out of my wallet and put it in the envelope. Then I added to my note, "Maybe if you get lucky and win, it will be enough to keep the unfaithful woman satisfied with you and she won't go out and cheat again. Good luck, dude. You are going to need it." I signed it, "A very thankful Rob." I folded the page and put it into the envelope, sealed it, addressed it, and handed it to Beatrice. "When you see him, give him this." She took it, and with a shocked expression on her face, she said, "You know, just because you think I'm clueless doesn't make it so." "On second thought," I said as I took the envelope back from her, "I'll mail it to him. I don't trust you not to open it up, read it, and then throw it away. Now why don't you go and pack and get the hell out of my life, and since you are the one that wants to leave, you need to get out of the house as soon as possible. I'm sure not leaving. No way am I getting out just so you can move your lover in." I got up, poured my coffee in a travel mug, topped it off, and left for work. On the way to work, I stopped at the bank and closed out the savings and checking accounts and took the contents out of our safe deposit box. Then I went to a bank closer to work and opened new accounts in my name only. When I got to work, I called and canceled all of our joint credit cards and arranged for new cards in my name only, and that done, I tackled my day's workload. I stopped after work and had dinner and drinks with my executive assistant and told her that I was back on the market if her sister was still interested. Stella laughed and said, "To hell with my sister. If you are back in circulation, I want to be first in line." Stella had started with me as a secretary 10 years ago and had proven so valuable that 4 years previous, I had promoted her my personal assistant, and then to justify the raise I thought she deserved, I'd made her my executive assistant. 2 years previous on a Sunday, I'd thrown a backyard barbecue, and I had invited Stella. She'd told me that she couldn't make it because her sister was in town visiting, and I'd told her to bring her sister along also. Her sister Tara was a Beatufiel-looking blonde, and on Monday, Stella laughingly told me that her sister had the hots for me. I laughed and told her never to let B know that because B could be insanely jealous. And now Stella was telling me she was interested? I'd never had a clue that she might have had thoughts like that where I was concerned. "Okay then," I jokingly said. "Tara moves to second place and you can have the top spot." "I'm not joking here, boss. I'm serious as hell. I want a shot." "You might not when you hear what I have to offer." "And what is that?" she questioned. "B told me that she wanted a divorce, so I'm leaving it up to her and her lover to make it happen, and I have no idea what their timetable might be." "Her lover?" she asked. "She hooked up with a guy about a year and a half ago, and I guess she finally decided that a couple of days a week with him weren't enough, so she's going full-time." "How long have you known?" she questioned. "A year and a half. I've known almost since the day it started." "How could you know that?" she asked. "She was seen by a friend of mine going into a motel room with a man, and she gave me a call. I put a private detective on B for a week, and he got me all that I needed to know." "A year and a half and you did nothing about it?" she asked. What was to do? Get all angry about it and turn my life upside down? This state is no fault. Everything would have to be split 50-50, and I would have had to sell the house and split the proceeds with her. I would have had to give up the pool, the hot tub, my woodworking shop, and my 3-car garage and move into an apartment somewhere. No, thank you. I decided to just ignore it and let her cook for me, do my laundry, and clean the house. How could you stand being around her knowing that she was cheating on you? She questioned. You would be surprised at how quickly love can turn into hate, and then hate turn into indifference. I can't believe that a healthy guy like you could go 1.5 years without intimacy, she answered. I didn't go without. As long as B still offered, I still took, and she did still offer, although the frequency did drop some. I wouldn't touch her on the days I knew that she had been with him. But other than that, the only change was that I stopped making love and started just having intimacy. You have any idea of why she did it? She questioned. Not a clue, but he probably wasn't the first one. You think she has had other lovers? She asked. I have no way of knowing for sure, but what I do know is that in the 10 years we have been married, she has gone into a certain sort of mood 4 times that I can remember. 4 times that she has behaved like she has behaved since she took up with the guy she is seeing now. It is only a guess on my part, but I'd almost bet that the other times were for the same reason. If she hadn't been seen, and I hadn't been alerted to what was going on, I would have taken the recent mood as just another one of those female things. I may be all wrong in my thinking, but it really doesn't matter. I know about the one, and that is all I need to know about to know that she is a cheating woman. Stella asked, What are you going to do now? Rob replied, Wait. Confused, Stella pressed, Wait? For what? To see what she is going to do. She is on her own now. I've cleaned out the bank accounts, canceled all of her credit cards, and told her to get out of the house. She wanted a divorce, so I'm leaving it to her to get it. Since she doesn't make enough to support herself and still be able to pay an attorney, she will have to get the money for the attorney from her lover, and I don't know if he will give it to her. I'm assuming that they talked it over before she hit me with it, but I have no way of knowing. What I am saying here is that if you are really interested, you will be running around with a married man who has no idea of how long it will be before he is divorced. You are not thinking too clearly here, Rob. How so? I asked. If she goes for the divorce, she is in control. You will get served and it could be bad. You have no idea of what she might do. You could be ordered to vacate the house and maintain her pending hearings. What if she files and says that it is because of mental and physical cruelty and gets a restraining order keeping you away from her in the house? You need to be the one setting the pace, boss. You need to be in the driver's seat. Make her respond to you and not the other way around. Besides, you filing helps me. Helps you? How? I asked. If you are going to wait and let her file, what if she doesn't? What if Loverboy won't give her the money to do it? That would put us in the position of committing adultery, and she could use that against you somewhere down the line. You say she cheated and she says so what? You did too. If you file, you are saying that as far as you are concerned, the marriage is over, and what you do from that point on is none of her business. From a strictly legal point of view, you will still be legally married until the divorce is final, and taking up with me would still technically be adultery, but no court would use it against you as long as it was something that didn't start before you separated from B. So, from where I sit, I need to stay away from you until either you or B get the legal ball rolling. If we wait on her, it could be years, or it could be next week, but with her controlling things. If you do it, it could be as soon as this weekend. If you could get in to see an attorney early tomorrow, you could conceivable have B served by Thursday, and that would give me the weekend to work on hooking you. Hooking me? Damn straight boss, man. What good does it do to be first on the list if you don't take advantage of it? She was right, and I knew it. So I took out my cell phone and used speed dial to call Josh. Josh and I had been friends since the 3rd grade, and Josh was now an attorney who practiced family law. Family law was a polite term for divorce law. When he answered, I told him that I needed his legal services and I told him my problem. He was sorry to hear it because he and his wife Sally were friends of ours and he liked B. But he told me that he would get on it as soon as he got into his office in the morning, and then he told me to stop in and see him around lunchtime. I could sign the papers and we could go to lunch. Then, just to be a jerk about it, I told him that I wanted a restraining order. I fibbed and told him that B had told me that if I gave her any problems over her leaving me, she would see to it that her lover, Tom Noble, straightened me out. Josh laughed and told me that he knew that was pure nonsense, but that he would do it. Josh explained, "You do know that there will be a hearing within 10 days on the order, right? I can get it and have it served, but a judge will have to hold a hearing before deciding whether to keep it in force." Rob nodded. "I know, and I'll be ready for it. But right now, the priority is getting her out of the house and keeping her out for a while. We have no kids, so there's no real reason for her to get to stay in the house while the divorce proceeds. I'm relying on the possession is 9 points of the law rule. No reason for the judge to order me out and let her in. That's what I'm aiming for." He continued, "I told her to leave this morning, but I don't know what I'll find when I get home. She might be gone, or she might still be there. Since I have no way of knowing, let's plan to serve her at work." Josh asked, "No chance of you two working things out?" Rob shook his head. "Not a prayer." Josh sighed. "See you tomorrow, then." Rob disconnected the call and turned to Stella, giving her a curious look. "Just what do you have planned for me this weekend?" She outlined her ideas, and they sounded pretty good to me. When I got home, B was sitting in the kitchen at the table and sorting through some papers. "Why are you still here?" I asked as I walked to the icebox and got a beer. "It is still my house, too. I'm staying here until I can make other arrangements. If you object to my company, feel free to move out." Rob scoffed. "And let you move your lover in? Not on your life." B sighed, trying to stay calm. "You need to sit down so we can discuss what we are going to do." Rob shook his head. "Don't think so. We aren't going to do anything. I know what I'm going to do, and I couldn't care less about what you plan to do." B insisted. "There are things that need to be worked out, Rob." "No, there aren't, Beatrice. It is simple. You said that you wanted a divorce, so you get to go and get it. You get to hire the attorney. You get to file the paperwork, and you get to pay all of the court costs. What I will do is fight you tooth and nail over every last little thing. We live in a state that has no fault. Everything gets split 50-50, so decisions will have to be made over who gets what as part of their half. I will drag things out so your attorney fees just keep climbing and climbing. You do know that they don't work for free, right? You want the coffee table? Well, guess what? I want it too. You want the sofa? Too bad, B. It has great sentimental value to me, and I just have to have it." B frowned. "Why? You don't care about any of that stuff. You weren't even emotional when I told you I wanted a divorce. All you did was tell me to pack and get out." Rob leaned back, his tone colder now. "That was before I had time to think on it." I looked her in the eye and took a chance. "I let you get away with it the first 3 times because you stayed. I loved you enough to keep quiet and keep you because you came back to me." She looked away from me when I said the first 3 times, which, as far as I was concerned, confirmed what I had suspected, and then I went on to say, "I don't know why I accepted it, but I did. I thought maybe I had done something that really angered you off and you felt that you had to do it to get back at me. You eventually ended the affair, and I foolishly thought it was because you realized that you loved me, and so you came back to me." I looked down at the floor and, yep, the nonsense was already up over my shoes. I thought that this thing with Noble was just more of the same, but I can see now that I was wrong. I have come to realize that you are nothing but a low-life cheating slut, and if you hadn't decided to leave me for Noble and had ended things with him, you would be having another affair with a jerk 6 months or a year from now. After thinking about it, I decided that I had to get some sort of revenge. What I really want to do is take a thick belt and beat your ass with it so bad it would break the skin and have you bleeding on the floor. But that would only send me to jail. The only thing I can do that won't see me locked up is to make the divorce as difficult and costly as I can for you. You are right. This is also your house, and if you chose to stay, outside of physically tossing you out and probably involving the cops, I have to let you be here. But I don't have to like it, and I don't have to interact with you. Move your stuff into one of the spare bedrooms and stay out of my way. I finished my beer and then went up to what had been our bedroom and got ready for bed. I thought I'd accomplished what I set out to do. I'd given her things to think about, and she would need to talk things over with Noble and make decisions, and that would take time. Time that Josh could use to get B served and the restraining order in place. I could be wrong. B may have already seen a lawyer, and papers might already be heading my way, but I didn't think that was the case. I'd gotten the balances when I'd canceled the credit cards, and they were about what I had expected, and when I took the cash out of the bank, it was pretty much what I thought it should be. If B had seen a lawyer, she hadn't used our money to pay him. Of course, Noble could be footing the bill. All I could do was wait and hope that Josh got his oar in first. I was up and out of the house before B came out of whichever of the 2 spare bedrooms she had chosen to use. I stopped at the B&B Cafe for breakfast, and as I sipped my coffee, I made a list of who to call as soon as B was served. I was not going to let her make me the bad guy. I would tell everyone about the divorce, and I would tell everyone why. At work, Stella told me that she was really looking forward to the weekend, and I found myself hoping that it would happen. I met Josh for lunch, and he slid the papers across the table to me, and I signed them. He said he would go to the city-county building from lunch and file. Josh asked, "You still want her served at work?" Rob nodded firmly. "Damn straight I do." Josh glanced at his notes. "Figured tomorrow around 10. Rob added, "Call me as soon as it happens. I want the locks on the house changed before she can get home." I went back to work and made arrangements to take the next day off. Before I left the office, I called a locksmith and made the arrangements for some quick service the next day. It cost me a bit extra, but I felt that it was worth it. When I got home, B's car was in the drive, but she must have decided to stay in her room and out of my way because I never saw her. I was up and out of the house before B came downstairs, and I went to the B&B for breakfast. Angie asked me where B was. Angie raised an eyebrow as she took Rob's order. "I never see you in here without her. 2 days in a row now, and she's nowhere to be seen." Rob stirred his coffee and replied, "You won't be seeing us together anymore. We are splitting the blanket." Angie's curiosity piqued. "Do tell," she said, jotting down his order. When she returned with the bill, she slid it across the table with a small smile. "My phone number is on the back. Not the restaurant number, my number." I couldn't help but have a "you poor guy" moment as Angie walked away. She made it 2 women in as many days who let me know that they were interested. So why wasn't I enough for the woman I'd married? I'd never know, because I would never ask. I drank coffee and read the morning paper while waiting for the time when B normally left for work, and then I went on home and started packing B's things and moving them out into the garage. At 10:15, Josh called me and told me that the papers had been served, so I called the locksmith, and 20 minutes later he was at the house and doing his thing. He wasn't gone an hour when B came whipping into the driveway. She couldn't miss the wide-open garage door and the big cardboard sign that had, "All your things are here in the garage, B." She stood there staring at the sign for a minute, and then she tried to get into the house, but of course her keys wouldn't work. She rang the doorbell, but I didn't answer it, and eventually she left. I looked in the garage and saw that she had taken a couple of bags of her stuff. 2 minutes after she pulled out of the driveway, my cell went off, and it was B. "Hello?" Rob answered. "You jerk! Did you have to embarrass me in front of my coworkers?" "Better than letting you embarrass me in front of mine," Rob answered. "You told me that I had to get the divorce, and what the hell is with this restraining order?" she questioned. Rob replied dryly, I was afraid that you would have Noble come over and beat me up for being mean to you." B scoffed. "That's a crock and you know it. I need to get into the house and get some things." "All of your things are in the garage. B and I haven't changed the garage door code, so your opener will still work. If what you want isn't there, make me a list of what you want or need, telling me where it is, and I'll move it out into the garage." Frustrated, B snapped, "Stop messing around, Rob. You are making this far more difficult than it needs to be." Rob's voice hardened. "Sorry, B. Causing you some inconvenience isn't much in the way of a payback for your years of screwing over me. But I have to do something if only for my mental health. Just be thankful that I didn't get violent. Goodbye, B." After I disconnected from B, I got on the phone and started calling all the names on my list. Most were shocked to find out that B had cheated on me, but 2 weren't surprised. One said, "Finally caught her, huh?" And the other said, "I always had the idea that you had one of them open marriage things. She was always going off with some guy and you never said nothing about it." I guessed I could cross those 2 off of my list of friends. The 2 that the information hit the hardest and who tried to tell me that I must be wrong were B's parents. I had always liked them, and they had treated me almost like the son they never had. But I was not going to let B tell them and make it out to be all my fault. If I allowed that to happen, they would not think well of me, and I didn't want that. All the calls out of the way, I made one more pass through the house looking for stuff of B's, and then I fixed myself some lunch. I'd just finished eating when the guys from Apex Security showed up. Not trusting B in the least, and having absolutely no doubt that she would violate the restraining order and try to get in the house, I'd decided to put a security system in the house complete with cameras. When the guys from Apex were gone, I flipped a mental coin. The bookshelf that I was working on in my woodworking shop, or the 1934 Ford 3-window coupe that I was restoring out in the garage. The Ford won and I got busy. Thursday at work, I told Stella that we were good to go for the weekend. She smiled and said, "Tomorrow night then? Dinner and dancing?" "For a start," Rob said. I had to smile when I got home. B had done just what I had known she would do. She had used her garage door opener to get into the garage to get some of her things, and then had broken into the house through the connecting door from the garage. She trashed the kitchen. There were broken dishes and glasses all over the floor, and she had broken several lamps in the living room. The cameras caught it all. The one that really made me smile was the one where she took all my clothes out of the closet, piled them on the floor, and then squatted over them and pissed on them. Why did that make me smile? All on tape and evidence that she had not only violated the restraining order, but had been maliciously destructive, evidence that I could use in the restraining order hearing. I called Josh, and he called the police. The police showed up and took a report and some pictures, and the next day B was arrested at work and taken to jail. She was fingerprinted, had her picture taken, and was hustled in front of a judge. She was charged with violating the restraining order and willful destruction of private property. The judge set a hearing date and released B on her own recognizance, and quite frankly, I was surprised that it even went that far. My date with Stella was fun, and we made a second date for Saturday. It also went well, and we went out again Sunday on a picnic. Monday, the hearing was held on the restraining order, and when the judge saw the tapes from the security system, he not only made the restraining order permanent, but he ordered B to replace all of the destroyed items, pay for the dry cleaning of my clothes, and pay for the cleaning of the bedroom since some of her urine had gone into the carpet. He gave her 10 days to get it done or be jailed for contempt of court. Just to be an asshole about it, I hired the most expensive cleaning company I could find to do the work. B disappointed me. She actually came up with the money to do all that the judge ordered. I was so looking forward to her being locked up for contempt of court. The next 2 weeks went by, and Stella and I dated frequently, but there wasn't much more going on other than some kissing, some of it pretty intense, because neither of us felt comfortable about the fact that I was still a married man, but we were slowly approaching the point where things were going to get serious. B didn't fight the divorce, and in 6 months it was final. It was your standard no fault with everything being split 50-50. I refinanced the house and bought out B. I still made out much better than B on the deal. I'd been putting money aside in a separate account to pay for a surprise around-the-world trip on our 20th anniversary, and since she didn't know about it, I didn't give her a dime of it. She also didn't know about the last 2 certificates of deposit I had put into the safe deposit box. I'd bought them with my last 2 bonus checks. I had one more small victory. B was awarded alimony for 2 years, or until she remarried, but it was only set at $100 a week instead of the $500 she was trying for. It was unexpected, and Josh told me that it was because we had gotten extremely lucky in the judges that my cases were assigned to. The judge who sat for the restraining order hearing and the judge who oversaw the divorce were not only cousins who apparently discussed their cases, but both had cheating wives in their backgrounds. Neither believed that the innocent husband should be penalized for the cheating wife's behavior, and while they would follow the law, they would not go one step farther than the law dictated. Whatever B had with Noble apparently wasn't all that strong, because 7 months after the divorce was final, she was living with her parents. It was 8 months after the divorce became final, and I was sitting at the bar in the Hilton having a beer and a steak sandwich for lunch when someone sat down on the stool next to me and a voice asked, "Buy you a beer?" I looked over and saw my ex-wife's ex-lover. "Would like to have a word or two with you," he said. Being curious, I told him to go ahead, and he waved Agnes over and ordered us both a beer. She brought them over, and he took a pull on his, set it down on the bar and looked at it for several seconds, and then started to peel the label off the bottle. As the little pile grew in front of him, he said, "I didn't mean to screw you over." His eyes still on the bottle, he went on. "She wasn't wearing her wedding rings the night I met her, so I didn't know she was married, and she sure didn't act like a married woman. She was in Bud's bar with a group of girls that she worked with, and I asked her to dance, and she said yes. I bought her a drink, and she invited me to sit with her and the other girls. I danced with her 3 more times and asked her for a date, and she said yes. I fell for her big time, and inside of a month we were having intimacy whenever we could get together. When we started, we had to use motels because I was sharing an apartment with 2 roommates, and one of them was always around. We couldn't use her place because she said she was living with her invalided mother. That was also the reason she used as why we couldn't get together more often. She had to take care of her mother and could only get out when someone else was available to watch dear old mom. I finally got my own apartment, so we wouldn't have to use motels anymore, and even though our getting together was irregular and spotty, I had fallen in love with her and was about to ask her to marry me. I was going to buy a house big enough for us and her mother, but before I could pop the question, a guy I know asked me why I was messing around with a cheating woman. I was all set to whip his ass when he told me that B was married and was cheating on her husband and that it wasn't the first time. It seems that 2 years before she had been cheating on you with his brother. When his brother found out that she was married, he broke up with her. I was still having trouble believing it when I got your letter. I sat on it for a week, and then I confronted her with it, and she broke down crying. She didn't love you. You were an abusive drunk and you beat her physically and abused her mentally. She hated you, but was afraid to leave you, because you had told her that if she ever did, you would hunt her down and kill her and whoever she was with. By then I had done some checking and I knew that she was lying and all thoughts of asking her to marry me were gone. But she was good body, and you had kicked her out, so I let her move in with me. As long as she was willing to have intimacy, things were okay. But when the divorce was final and she started talking marriage, I shot her down. My parents split up because my mom cheated on my dad. She got custody of me and later remarried, and then she got caught cheating on him too. She remarried a 3rd time and cheated again. I am a firm believer in the saying that once a cheater, always a cheater, and I told B that. Told her that as long as she was good with a live and friends with benefits relationship, we were okay. But that is as far as I was willing to go. About 3 weeks after I told her that, I came home from work and she was gone. He took another pull on his beer and said, "Rumor has it that you knew all along that she and I were doing it. How come you let it go on and didn't divorce her? You said it yourself. She was damn good body. I figured to hell with it. Just leave things alone and I'd have her and have someone to cook, clean the house, and do my laundry. Things would probably still be that way if she hadn't told me that she was leaving me and wanted a divorce. He took another pull on his beer and then said, I never thought I'd be saying this, let alone to you, but I miss not having her in my bed. He finished his beer, stood up, took something out of his pocket and set it down on the bar and slid it over to me. What's that? I asked. That lottery ticket you gave me? It was a winner. That's your half. I waited until now to give it to you so you wouldn't have to give her half in the divorce. See you around. And he left. I picked it up and looked at it. It was a cashier's check for a large amount. A very, very large amount. When I got back to the office, Jean, my PA, said, You look like the cat that just ate the canary. Lunch was that good? Lunch was spectacular. Oh, right. Jean, my PA. Stella didn't work for me anymore. At least not in the office. She was home painting the room that was going to be the nursery when the twins arrived. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.